Good day, folks, and welcome back to Ed's Garage at Bannister Hyundai. Recently, I was made aware that my Android Auto video might be a little bit too complicated for people to follow, and they requested that I do a more of a beginner's guide to Android Auto, so that is what this is. If you've never used Android Auto before and you'd just like to learn some things about how you can use it, what you can do with it, how to initially enable it and set it up, this video is for you. So what we're going to do today is we're going to connect my phone to this vehicle, and this is a 2025 Hyundai Kona. It happens to be a gas model. It's an N-line, but none of that really matters. Hyundai's using a new CCNC system for wireless Android Auto. However, once your phone is connected to your screen, whether by cable or wireless, it actually won't make a difference. Android Auto works the same way in basically any vehicle. And that's one of the joys and bonuses of using Android Auto is it doesn't matter which car you're in, you just connect up your phone and then it'll work the same way in every single car. Now the layout might be slightly different, like for instance the menu bar on the left side of the screen might be along the bottom, that sort of thing. Or if you travel to another country where they drive on the right-hand side of the road, left-hand side of the road, the menu bar might be on the opposite edge of the screen. But none of that's neither here nor there because it's going to basically operate the same aside from that. Now, depending on what icons or applications you have on your phone, you're going to see different icons in the menu for apps that are compatible with Android Auto. But let's start by connecting up my phone to this car so you can kind of get an idea how that works. Now, obviously, it's going to be different for every vehicle manufacturer, but in Hyundai, it's going to be fairly similar across the board. If you're using a wired connection, then with most cars, you simply plug your phone into the USB port that is designated to be used with the screen. And then the rest, beyond that is pretty simple. You just tap the Android Auto icon on your screen, wherever it happens to be, and it opens up. In the case of a wireless connection, every car is going to have a slightly different variation on a theme here. We need to connect the phone to the Bluetooth of the car, and then generally it'll ask you if you want to use Android Auto, and you just kind of go from there. All right, I'm going to hold the phone as steady as I possibly can. I can't seem to get my tripod to function here in this vehicle on this center console. So I'm going to have to just hold the phone here. So hold the phone, right? Anyway, so what we're going to do here in this Hyundai is we're first going to connect the phone to Bluetooth. So on this vehicle, we're going to go to Setup, Device Connections, and then you can see here we have basically the ability to add a phone or delete a phone. I'm going to go ahead and delete Aria's phone here. Doesn't need to be there. All right, so I'm going to go Add New. And on my phone, I selected this vehicle as the vehicle I wanted to connect to. And then this is the first thing that came up. Ed's phone, this device supports Android Auto, connect to Android Auto, so yes. All right, and then once it's connected, it basically will come up with Android Auto. Now, yours may look a little bit different, but some things you'll definitely see are the menu on either the side here or along the bottom. And you may see just a map here, or you might see a map and another section here. It depends on how big your screen is. So some screens, they can have sort of split up sections here, some can't. And the orientation of the screens are going to be a little bit different as well. But you also notice we have a clock here in the top left corner. Again, might be down here in the bottom left corner if this menu is horizontal versus vertical. And then as far as these icons go, these are going to be varied depending on your phone. And then this one you'll always see, that is your voice recognition button. All right, I've gone ahead and configured the navigation system to look like it will look like on most phones, starting with the sort of daytime mode map. And no satellite view, because I want to show you how to do that a little bit later. But again, that is sort of the advanced stuff. For now, I just want to talk about the easy stuff and what sort of things you can do with Android Auto that'll make your life a lot easier. So what I want to do is I want to start with these icons down here on the bottom left. So this one here is the voice recognition. Hi Google, how are you today?
I'm great.
All right.
Thank you for asking.
So that just gives you an idea. You can hit this button to access voice recognition. Now, normally you could also just say, OK Google or Hey Google, and it'll probably pick that up as well. The reason mine isn't is because I'm using my phone to record this video. The third way to access the Google Assistant is via the button on the steering wheel. So in this Hyundai, it's right here. So if I press that, there we go. It's now asking, or it's now waiting for me to start talking. As you can see, it's actually taking down everything I'm saying. So I'm going to go ahead and hit that same button a second time to cancel it. Now, in some vehicles, you may have to hold that button for it to access the Google Assistant. Okay, so that is the voice recognition button. Looks like a little microphone. Directly underneath that is the All Apps icon. So if I tap that, you'll notice the icon now changed, because now it's saying, okay, if I press that again, it's going to come up with the split screen that we were just looking at. But this is all of the apps that I have on my phone that are compatible with Android Auto. Now, you're not going to have all of these apps. You're going to have some other apps that might work on yours, but everybody's phone is different. Remember, what we're seeing here on the screen is all coming from the cell phone. Nothing here has anything to do with the car. It's all from the cell phone. So now if I hit this bottom left icon again, it goes back to what we were looking at before. So notice it'll cycle between the two types of screens. Okay? On the right-hand side is whatever media you have playing, unless you just received a text message, in which case it may cut that in half and kind of put music on one part and your message on the other side. So speaking of messages, well, that's the first thing that we're going to talk about here, because that's probably the number one cool thing about Android Auto, is being able to send and receive text using voice without using the built-in car's voice recognition. So let's try this. Send a text to Nick Spencer.
What's the message?
Hey man, I'm just showing off Android Auto, can you just send a text back, ?
I got, man, I'm just showing off Android Auto. Can you just send a text back? Ready to send it?
Yes. Now you may have noticed that it said change or send. So if I had just pressed one of those buttons, that's the same as just talking to it. So if I had the message wrong, I could just say change and it would allow me to type, to basically speak out a new message. Now in a moment, hopefully if Nick is not too busy, he'll send a text back and then I'll show you how that plays out. But anyway, so that's one of the things that you can do with this. Now, you can also send a text message to specifically to a phone number. So if I were to do that again, send a text to 605.
What's the message?
This is a test.
I got, this is a test. Ready to send it?
Yes.
36.
Every time I send a text, the video recording stops, in case you're wondering why it keeps cutting out for a moment. So I just sent that text to myself. So I'm going to blur out that number, of course. But basically, now I've sent a text to a phone number specifically, not a contact. So you don't necessarily need the person's contact information. As long as you have their phone number and you know it's a cell number, you can do so. All right. So the next thing I want to show you is the other icon up here. So that was the voice recognition, sending a text. We're going to get back to that, but just on the top left here, a little bit of information. So it's showing me the cellular signal that my cell phone is currently getting. It's showing the battery level that my phone is at. It'll also tell me if the phone is charging. And then it'll also say the time here. And you can see when I tap that area, it brings up any existing notifications. Now, currently there is no notifications. So if I just received a text and I hadn't played it back yet, I could see that text in there. All right, so hopefully somebody sends me a text back so I can show you how that works. But anyway, let's talk about other things that you can say in the voice recognition. So what I want to do here is show you several voice commands that you might utilize one after the other with Android Auto. And the scenario is this. Let's say my wife just sent me a text message, and the text message, after I clicked on listen, said, hey, can you pick up some pizza on your way home? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to reply to that using voice recognition. And the cool thing is it'll actually say, do you want to reply to this message? You can just say yes after you've listened to it, obviously. And then it'll ask you what the message is. I would respond, yes, no problem. Okay, so let's assume that I've already done that part of it. Well, the next step here would be to make sure that the place that I'm getting pizza from knows I'm coming and gets a pizza ready for me to go. So the first thing I want to know is how long is it going to take me to get to that pizza place. So I'm going to hit the voice recognition, or I'm going to say, hey Google or okay Google, or I'm going to hit the button on the steering wheel. One way or another, we're going to access the voice recognition. In this case, I'm going to hit the button here, and I'm going to tell it to give me directions to a business that I do not have located on my phone anywhere in my contact list. It's just Google is going to access the internet and figure out the exact location, how long it takes to get there, and it's going to give me a route on the screen here. So check this out. Navigate to Little Caesars Pizza on Promontory Way.
Navigating to Little Caesars Pizza.
All right.
By the way, if you want to listen to the news,
So now I know it's going to take me 12 minutes to get there. And what's cool about this is now I can call them and tell them I'm going to be there in 12 minutes. Watch this. Call Little Caesars Pizza on Promontory Way.
Sure. Calling the nearest Little Caesars Pizza at 45800 Promontory Road, Chilliwack, BCV2 R5Z5 Canada.
Okay, now what you didn't see there was my phone actually cut out the recording, of course, because it started to place the phone call. I can't record and place a phone call at the same time. So it started to place the call to Little Caesars Pizza. And if this wasn't fake, I would have kept talking to them and said, hey, I'm going to be there in 12 minutes. Can you have a pizza ready for me to go? So now not only did I use voice recognition to play back, to ask it to play back the message that I received by saying, read my last message, I also used the voice recognition to respond to the message. I then used the voice recognition to look up the directions to Little Caesars Pizza and find out exactly how long it was going to take me to get there. And then I used the voice recognition to place the call to Little Caesars Pizza to tell them I was going to be there in 12 minutes. Now, I can also use the voice recognition to cancel this route. Cancel route. Simple.
Stopping navigation.
So a moment ago, I placed a call to a business that I did not have in my contact list. But, of course, if you have a friend or family member in your contact list that you want to place a call to, you would hit the voice recognition and just say call and the name of your contact. It's pretty straightforward. The great thing about Android Auto is that it's using Google Assistant. Google Assistant can interpret what you're saying, figure it out, and go from there. You don't have to say things in a very specific way. You can say things any way you want, really. As long as it kind of gets the idea across, Google will generally figure it out. Let me show you what I mean. Take me to YVR.
Navigating to Vancouver International Airport.
Navigate to Vancouver International Airport.
Navigating to Vancouver International Airport. YVR.
Show me directions to the airport in Vancouver.
Vancouver International Airport, YVR, is 1 hour, 26 minutes from your...
Let's go to the airport in Vancouver.
Vancouver International Airport, YVR, is 1 hour, 26 minutes from your location by car.
So as I just demonstrated, you can speak to it very naturally. You don't need to say things a very specific way. You can ask for directions in multiple different ways, and it'll just figure it out and go from there. The same can be said for other things. So to give you an idea, you can actually use this to ask Google about information about certain things. Let me give you an example. What's the weather going to be like in Los Angeles tomorrow?
Tomorrow in Los Angeles, California, United States, there'll be showers, with a high of 16 and a low of 12.
When was Hyundai Motors founded?
December 29, 1967, Mugyeodong, Seoul, South Korea.
Who's the CEO of McDonald's?
The CEO of McDonald's is Chris Kempczynski.
What is 30 miles per gallon in liters per 100 kilometers?
30 mpg is approximately 7.84 liters per.
What's traffic like on my way home today?
On your way home, traffic is light. It is 30 minutes by car.
What's the weather going to be like this week?
In Chilliwack today, it'll be mostly sunny, with a forecasted high of -2 and a low of -7. Tomorrow through Saturday, it'll be cloudy, with highs around 1. Lows will be around -5 tomorrow.
All right, you get the idea.
Friday.
So essentially you can talk to this very naturally, as I mentioned, and you can ask it varying things that you ordinarily wouldn't necessarily think to ask your car. And all of that's done with voice recognition. Let's talk about some of the apps that you can use aside from the navigation system. I'll get back to that in a little bit. All right. Obviously, you can send and receive text messages by voice using the SMS capabilities of your phone within Android Auto. But check this out. You may recognize this icon. This is Facebook Messenger. And if I slide up a little bit, here's WhatsApp. Okay. Oop, I just hit a button by accident. So WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger are not they're phone apps, but they don't use your phone's regular mobile connection. They use internet connection, so they use data. And yet you can still send and receive text messages from those applications. So currently there's no new messages on Messenger, and there was currently no new messages on WhatsApp, so it's pointless to open that. But even Skype, so even older text or older apps will work with this software as long as they were designed to use Android Auto. You'll also notice I have VLC Media Player here. So if you have music stored on your phone, you can use VLC Media Player to play back that music. And of course, all of that music would be free because it's on your phone. But the next one I want to talk about is V-Radio. What if you just want to listen to music without actually paying any money at all for your music and without having to worry about too many commercials? Well, check this out. Now, it has access from radio stations from all over the world. Now, it's a little bit choppy right now, but I can actually find radio stations from other countries, which is nice. And once you have some favorites listed, check this out. These are my favorites. You can actually listen to music directly from here. I'm a big U2 fan. And when you use the forward and back buttons, it'll just go to your next or previous favorite. And on the steering wheel, of course, with a Hyundai, you've got your next and previous as well here. That'll also control the V-Radio app as well. So next and previous favorites on the V-Radio app. Now, this software, this V-Radio application is free to download on your phone and allows you to listen to these music stations. On your phone, it's a little easier to search for the stations you want to listen to. But once you've got them, you put a little heart here in the favorite, and then it'll just remember that. You put a little heart in the in here on your screen or on your phone, and it'll remember that in your favorites, so you can get back to it really easily. So a pretty straightforward app to use, but very, very powerful. Free music with very, very little commercials if you pick the correct stations. I find that the 181 FM stations are really, really good. So you can see I've got the Buzz and I've got 90s Alternative. There's very, very little in the way of commercials. The commercials are generally just for 181.fm, and they're pretty short. So, it's like every 10 minutes or something like that, you'll hear a commercial that's like 30 seconds long, and then it just goes back to music, which is pretty cool. So yeah, some good stuff there. All right, having a quick look at the all apps section again. How do we get out of Android Auto? All you got to do is tap on the icon that has the name of the brand of vehicle you're in. That will take you back to that brand's sort of built-in system. And I can go back into Android Auto by finding the Android Auto icon. Pretty straightforward. That's how you do that. Okay, let's talk about the navigation system that's in here now. Obviously, Google Maps is going to be on every Android phone, and Google Maps basically will allow you to navigate probably the most accurately of all the different navigation softwares out there. And there's some things in here that we can do to make it a little bit nicer for us. So for instance, earlier, as I mentioned, we had the satellite image on there. So let's go to the gear icon up here, and then I can enable satellite. Pretty awesome. If I want, I can also go 3D buildings instead. Okay. Personally, I prefer satellite. It makes it a little bit easier. But how can we use this app now to our advantage when we're wanting to avoid things like construction and police and stuff like that? Well, the cool thing is it actually does that automatically. So right now, there's probably not a whole lot going on the road. But if we navigate to the airport again, navigate to YVR.
Navigating to Vancouver International Airport, YVR.
So I've chosen the exact location, but see here, it actually gives us 3 different options. Now, generally, if there's a big red section in here, it's going to mean that there's a heavy traffic issue. But I can actually choose these individual sections here. Notice there's a little icon here showing that there's an accident, but there doesn't appear to be any slowdown. But yeah, you can kind of choose which one you want and then hit start, and it starts navigating you. And the cool thing is it kind of does it in perspective mode as you start to drive off. But there is a little icon here. You can change to north up or the full map or back to perspective mode. So perspective mode, as you start driving, the map will kind of tilt, sort of give you almost like a three-dimensional perspective mode. Once you start the navigation, basically on the bottom left here, you can see the time it's going to take to get there, how many kilometers away it is, and what time you will arrive. Keep in mind that this is based on regular speed rates, so speed limits. The X is going to cancel the route. This is a reroute button, so if I press that, it shows me that there are still other options. So if we want to take the faster route, there we go. It's also the most fuel efficient, apparently. Notice here now there's also route options. And in route options, that's where we can avoid highways, tolls, ferries, and we can actually set it on prefer fuel efficient routes. The quick way to get to the options is either from there or on the gear icon. We can also go to route options from here. So that'll give us the same icons there. The other things in here, we have a search button, because if we want to add a stop, so let's say we want to add, a gas station, for instance, we can go to gas stations here, and this will be all of the gas stations sort of along the route. But keep in mind, these are gas stations. It's going to start off with the ones that are closest by. So if we know that we're going to need gas a little further away, as you can see here, it shows 25 minutes away, 28 minutes away, 25 minutes away. So these ones are obviously a little bit further away. But it also shows a little bit of a detour on some of these. So 3-minute detour, 5-minute detour. Some of them are going to be, right on the highway, but they're still going to be a bit of a detour, because obviously you have to get off the highway and go back onto the highway when you're done. So always try to find one that doesn't have a huge detour, obviously, if you know you're going to need gas anyway at some point. So that's how you can do that. And then once you've selected one, you'll notice now it's navigating from our start position to that gas station, and then it's going to carry on. So I will hit add stop. There we go. So the first destination is 24 minutes away, 32 kilometers, and we'll get there at 1:48. But if I hit the stop button, I can now remove that stop or exit navigation altogether. So let's just remove that stop. All right, so now there's this icon right here. If I tap that, so that just brings us back to this screen here. It's almost like going back to the start without actually, doing anything. If I hit X, it just goes back into here. So it basically just kind of gives me an overview. And it still shows, the phone number and everything. This is kind of nice. It shows us the full address and the phone number and the time and destination. And then we can add a stop from there as well. So this button you'll probably never need or use. All right, so what about some of the other icons in here? Well, we have a volume button here. So if I tap that, mute button. So we can have it just alert us only. So for instance, if there's police up ahead or construction or whatever, we'll get an alert. Or we can have it completely unmuted so that every single turn-by-turn direction is spoken out, or we can just mute the whole thing. This, again, is that map direction I was talking about. This one's pretty cool, though. Check this out. We can inform other people of things like crashes, police, slowdowns, objects on the road, flooded road, etc. So you got to do that right away, though. So if you see a police officer on the side of the road and you want to report it, don't wait a minute, because then it's going to report it where you are at that time. So you can't choose the location that it reports it. It's only going to just report it, right where you happen to be at the time. And then we got the plus and minus button. That's just zooming in and out of the map, which of course we can also do with pinch and zoom. Now, when you move the map around, as you can see, very, very easy to do that. You can go back to your vehicle in the middle here by hitting recenter, and then it just puts you back in the center, just like that. Super simple to use. All right, well, I'm going to leave the video there. So that gives you 4 good functions with Android Auto. Placing calls, doing text messaging, using the navigation system, and playing music. So 4 things you can do with Android Auto, and I threw a couple other voice commands in there as well. But I hope that gets you started anyway. If you have any questions on how to use any of those things specifically, or anything else that's a little bit more advanced, by all means, leave a comment below. I'd be happy to respond. If this video helps you out at all, or helped you out at all, please don't forget to hit like and subscribe for future videos. And if you want to see more about Android Auto, a more in-depth review and analysis of the things you can do with it, by all means check the link in the description below for more tips and tricks on Android Auto. Again, thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day. Sorry. Good day, folks, and welcome back to Android Auto. Blah! We're just, you know what? This, I'm going to start over. All at once, one after the other, at the same, me. Navigate to Vancouver Import. Different language, different voice. God, take care. That freaked out of me.